148. 적이 있다, 없다. Okay. So this grammar form is used for talking about your experiences. Talking about your experiences. For example, 저는 중국에 가본 적이 없어요. Which means I've never been to China. So, for example, this 저는 means I. This 중국 is China. We have the 에 particle here to say to. We have 가, which is our verb meaning to go. 가다 means to go. And now we have our conjugation here. 적이 없어요. Notice in the middle we have this 보다 grammar form in the middle, connecting these two together. 가본 적이 없어요. This 보다 is actually from the grammar form that we learned last week. This 보다 grammar form. So this one is to talk about trying things and doing things. And it's used very frequently combined with this grammar form. When you're using this grammar form to talk about things you've tried, it's very common to combine it with this 보다 grammar form. This book is Conversational Korean Grammar. So if you want to go back and practice this guy, feel free to go back and practice him, because we're going to probably be using this in this live stream as well. Yeah, Korean is difficult. English is difficult. Every foreign language that you learn is difficult, to be honest. But yes, so we have 가다, which means to go. We have this 보다 in the middle, connecting our verb with 적이 없어요. And this thing means to not have the experience, which kind of translate here is to never been, that you've never done something. English is actually easy, only if you're a native speaker. I think for people who are learning English, who do not have English as their first language, I do not envy them. I think English is probably very difficult to learn. I guess also depending on what your native language is. If your native language is Dutch, probably English is easier to learn than if your native language is Russian or Chinese or things like that. All right, so I've never been to China. So we're going to be practicing this thing here, this never been part, which is to do with this grammar form, 적이 있다, 없다. So a very useful thing to know that this grammar form is used to talk about experiences that you have or don't have. In Korean, this noun 적 means experience. So you're literally saying that you have 있다 or don't have 없다, the experience of doing something. So see this 적 here. This is literally experience. This is what this little noun means. This noun means experience. And here we have 있다 and 없다. And you probably are familiar with these verbs, right? You know, 있다 means to have and 없다 means to not have. So if you have the 적, if you have the experience, it's 있다. And if you don't have the experience, it's 없다. This book is called Conversational Korean Grammar. 저는 중국에 가본 적이 없어요. 아, 그래요? 저는 가본 적이 있어요. I have been to China. Okay. So remember that as well. It makes this grammar form quite clear when 적 is experience and 있다 is to have and 없다 is to not have. So it's used to talk about things that you've done, things you have the experience of doing. Okay. So let's look at how it's conjugated. You have the grammar form, this base grammar form. There's two ways. There's the 있다 form and there's the 없다 form. And it's very easy to conjugate into present tense with just adding 어요 on the end. So we have 적이 있어요 and 적이 없어요. And this attaches in the middle if you have a 받침, a final consonant for your verb. Let's look at some more examples of specific verbs and how to conjugate 은 적이 있다 없다. Okay, first of all, we have 봤다. 봤다, anyone know what 봤다 means in Korean? This verb. Yeah, it's the things you've already experienced. A joke, yeah. 이미 경험을 말하고 있나요? Yeah. To take, it's very similar to take. It's very related to take. 봤다. 봤다 means bug in my language. pada. That's cute. Yes, jolly-tastic, thank you. 봤다 means to receive or to get. Receive or get. So, because this has a final consonant, let me zoom in a little bit more here. Because there is a final consonant, this digit on the bottom, it becomes 은 적이 있다 / 없다. So we have both options in here, because now we're just practicing conjugating it to verbs. 받은 적이 있어요. So, what about this next one? 있다. What does this verb mean in Korean? It's probably one people are familiar with, probably a one you learn pretty early on. Meeks, thank you. Yeah, it means to read. 있다 means to read. And again, because it ends on a consonant, a 받침, a final consonant sound, you attach 은 적이 있다 or 없다. 읽은 적이 있다 없다. Now, if you're trying to pronounce this, little tip, pronounce this, something that happens in Korean is that these consonants move. They move, sorry, it's a little shaky. They move when you're pronouncing them. Specifically, they can move to an open vowel sound. This nieng here is sort of an open vowel sound. So when you're pronouncing it, this giok, moves up here. It moves. So it's pronounced, the lil stays at the bottom. No, the lil stays here. So it's 읽은. That's how you pronounce this. So if you say if you don't know how to pronounce this, this can help you out. Are you live every day? No, just Sundays. Okay. 읽은 적이 있다 없다 means to read or not read. Oh, it looks like there's a typo here. Oh yes, no, that is to have or not have ever read. So the first one was to not have ever received, and then this one is to have or not have ever read. So if you want to talk about, books that you have read or books that you have not read, you could use 읽은 적이 있다 and 없다. Okay, so both of these ended in consonants, right? What if it ends on a vowel? If it ends on a vowel, then you have to stick the nian underneath on the bottom. So, tada. Tada, does anyone know what this verb means in Korean? Tada. Tada. It's to do with motion, I suppose. To ride, yes. Tada means to ride. Yeah, like to ride a bus. You would use 버스를 타다, to ride the bus. And because it ends on a vowel sound, it becomes 탄 적이 있다 or 없다. To have or not have, to have or not have the experience of riding. Okay, now we have some tricky ones. So this ends in a lil. Okay, this ends in a lil. Notice this exclamation point means that it's kind of an irregular or a special conjugation. So when you have a lil 받침, this nian replaces the lil. And it happens with other conjugations as well, not just this grammar form, but really any grammar form in Korean when you're sticking a nian on the bottom, it replaces the lil. So tada also means to burn. Yes, that's true. Also means to burn. I can add that too. All right. And so this actually becomes 산. 산 적이 있다 or 없다. To have or not have the experience of buying something. So this one, 만들다, this is the same thing, right? We have a 리을 on the bottom. So it becomes 만든 적이 있다, 없다. By the way, what does this 만들다 mean in Korean? This lesson is called verb 은 적이 있다, 없다. 만들다, jolly-tastic, thank you. Yeah, it means to make. It means to make. So this means to have or not have the experience of making something. Okay. So, 산 means mountain. Yes, 산 also means mountain, right? This by itself, and if you didn't see this part, this by itself means mountain. But you have to know the full context. As soon as you see 적이 있다, 없다 afterwards, you know it's a verb conjugation. But you're right, 산 by itself does mean mountain. But context is key, right? Context is always important. When you're learning a language, you have to know the context. Okay. So now I'm trying to get myself some more space down here. Here we go. Maybe this is a little bit better. Oh. Okay, let's look at some example sentences. 한국어를 공부한 적이 있어요. What does this mean? Let's break this down. Okay, so what is 한국어? First of all, what is 한국어? Helen Dixie, yes. 한국어 means Korea, very close Korean, yes. 한국 by itself means Korea, 한국, but this 어 at the end means 한국어, the Korean language. Okay, what about 공부하다? 공부하다, what is this? What does this mean in Korean? To study, Trisha, thank you. To study. Okay. And then we have this 적이 있어요. What does 있어요 mean in Korean? What does 있어요 mean? It has a couple different meanings, but any of the meanings are fine. It's whatever you know. To have. Yes, thank you. And this is our grammar form, right? This 적이 있어요 is our grammar form that we are learning today. And it means to have 있어요, the 적, to have the experience. 적 is the experience. So, who is the author of the book? Myself, along with my co-workers. 한국어를 공부한 적이 있어요. So what does this mean as a sentence then? If you were to translate this to English, what might this be in English? 한국어를 공부한 적이 있어요. Anyone have a go at translating that? Where can we order the book? From bookstores like Amazon. Jolly-tastic, yeah. I have the experience of studying Korean. Perfect. I have studied Korean, even better. Probably naturally, you would just say, I have studied Korean. The full form of I have the experience of having studied Korean is kind of strange in English. It's a bit long. We would just say, I have studied Korean. In your life, you have the experience, you have the 적 of studying Korean. Okay. What about, oh, thank you for the roses. What about this next one? 버스를 탄 적이 있어요. First of all, what is this word? 버스. Yes, Helen did say yes. Perfect. 버스 is bus. 버스를, it's English, right? 버스를 탄 적이 있어요. And don't mind my dog in the background. And this 타다, we had it before. It means to ride. So, 번데기, What are you doing? Is Russell playing with you? Oh boy. Okay. So this means that you have ridden the bus before. I have ridden a bus. In my life, I have experienced riding a bus. It's something that I have done. I have ridden a bus or the bus, whatever the context is. Okay. Let's do this. Let's do this one as well. Let's do this last one. 한국에 산 적이 있어요. So we know that 한국 is Korea. Oh. Korea. The dogs, I know. Oh my gosh. This is like peak fun time for him. Yeah, I see people are getting it right. Thank you. Good job. Now this sada. Now we saw before this can be tricky, right? Someone said before that this is mountain, which is true, right? San by itself means mountain. But this here does not mean mountain. It's the conjugation of the verb 살다, which means to live, right? And the other thing that this could be is it could potentially be sada, right? Which means to buy. Both of these verbs conjugate to this. Salda becomes this and sada becomes this. But we know it can't be sada, right? Because otherwise this sentence would not make sense. You can't like buy to Korea. That doesn't make sense. So we know this is salda, to live, because then the sentence makes perfect sense. You have the experience of living in Korea, or I have lived in Korea, or I've lived in Korea before, something like that. Okay, so all of these use 있어요. Let's look at some experiences and things using 없어요. Okay, first of all, let's do this first one. 비행기를 탄 적이 없어요. 탄 적이 없어요. 비행기. Does anyone know what a 비행기 is in Korean? A 비행기. 비행기. Mary, yes, an airplane. This is an airplane. 비행기를 탄 적이 없어요. So I know this 타다 is to ride. So we have our grammar conjugation, this 니은 적이 없어요. Now here we have 없어요, right, which means to not have. So you don't have the 적, you don't have the experience of 타다, of riding. So this means I haven't ever ridden on an airplane, or I've never been on an airplane, or I've never traveled by airplane, anything like that, however you want to translate it. You don't have the experience of riding an airplane or being in an airplane. Okay, so what about, let's do this last one as well. Let's do this one as well. 눈사람을 만든 적이 없어요. Oh, actually, let's do this one first. We'll do both, but we'll do this one first. 뼈가, because this is quite a useful one. Well, maybe not super useful, but like you can see clearly how this grammar form. Oh no, you've given it away for the answers of the next one. Okay, no, good job, guys. What about this first one? 뼈가 부러진 적이 없어요. 뼈. Yes, jolly-tastic, thank you. Let's just break it down slowly. What does 뼈 mean in Korean? 뼈, this word here, it's a noun. To do with the human body, some sort of body part. 뼈. A bone, yes. 뼈 means bone. And there's 부러지다. 부러지다. What does that mean? What is this verb in Korean? 안녕하세요. To break, yes. 부러지다 means to break. So, 부러진 적이 없어요 means that you don't have the experience of a broken bone. You've never broken a bone. That's not true for me. I have certainly broken several bones. I've broken my arm, I've broken my wrist, although I think that's it. Though I did break the same arm twice, which was not good luck for me, but lots of people out there have never broken a bone, so you could say 뼈가 부러진 적이 없어요. Now again, if you want to say that you have broken a bone, you just change this 없어요 to an 있어요, right? You would just say 뼈가 부러진 적이 있어요 means I have broken a bone. So just depending on what you want to say, you just change the end. It's very simple, right? And this last one, 눈사람. What is a 눈사람? People before had it. I know people out there do know what a 눈사람 is. 눈사람, snowman, yeah. I love that. It's really cute. It is literally snow person. 눈 is snow and 사람 is person. So 눈사람 is a snowman. And 만들다, we looked at this before as another sort of this real irregular verb where what happens is the nian takes the place of the real, right, when you're conjugating. So 만든 적이 없어요 means I don't have the experience of making a snowman, or I've never made a snowman, or I haven't ever made a snowman. Personally, I have made one snowman. So I could say 눈사람을 만든 적이 있어요 because I have made a snowman. All right. Okay. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. And there's another note here about how this grammar form is often combined with this are or poda form. So I mentioned this before, but it is very common to use these things together with the are or poda form, which is what we learnt actually in the previous lesson. In the previous lesson, we did look at this, so you can go back and study this as well if you like. But just a very quick introduction to this. Let's see what's going on. So this sentence, 김치를 먹어본 적이 있어요. So kimchi, probably you guys know what kimchi is. It's a very popular Korean food, fermented cabbage. Yes, this book is called Conversational Korean Grammar. Now, this verb 먹다 as well, you probably know, it means to eat. So this sentence is about eating kimchi, but specifically we have a couple things going on, right? We have this or poda form, which means to try doing, plus we also have this 적이 있어요 form as well. And they're sort of stuck together. A lot of Korean grammar forms work this way. You can kind of stick them together into one long conjugation. And that's just how Korean grammar conjugations work. They're like Lego blocks. They just snap together. So, 김치를 먹어본 적이 있어요 means I have, 있어요 is to have, the experience of trying to eat kimchi. Now, in English, we wouldn't say that, right? In English, we wouldn't say, I have the experience of trying to eat kimchi. Like, that's just very awkward in English. But this is a very natural sentence in Korean. It's one of those things where direct translations don't really work between English and Korean. I find those things really interesting, but here is a good example of that, where this is a very natural sentence in Korean, but we would probably just say, I've tried eating kimchi. I have the experience of eating kimchi. I've eaten kimchi before. It's another one. I've eaten kimchi before. It's probably also a good translation. People might ask you, like, 김치를 먹어본 적이 있어요? Like, have you ever tried kimchi? And you would say either 있어요 or 없어요 to answer that question. Also, that's another good note. If you are replying to this sort of sentence, you can just say 네, 있어요. Yes, I have. Or 아니요, 없어요. No, I haven't. You don't have to reply with this whole thing again. If you're replying to a question, you can just say 네, 있어요. Yeah, I have done that thing. Or no, 없어요. No, I haven't done that thing. Okay, what about this next one? We'll do another one as well. This book is so great. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. So this one is soju. Soju. Does anyone know what soju is? Has anyone ever tried soju? Soju. It's very popular in Korea. You have tried soju before. Yes, I don't know if you're just reading off the thing or if that's something you actually have done, but either way. Kathy, yes. Alcohol. It's a specific type of alcohol. It's sort of specific to Korea, and I think it's made from rice. It's kind of like rice wine, but it's like Korea's specific sort of national alcohol, soju. So it's usually drunk in like little shot glasses, and it's clear. You have a bottle of soup with you right now. I don't know. It's rice-based soju. Oh, amazing! Enjoy. Yeah. So. This sentence says 소주를 마셔본 적이 있어요. So again, we have a couple things going on. And first thing you'll see is this 마셔보다 form, which is the combination of the verb 마시다, which means to drink, with the 아오보다 form, which is where it becomes 마셔본, or 마셔보다 would be what it becomes. Or 마셔봐요 in present tense. That means I've tried to drink. 마셔보다. Again, you can refer back to the previous one. But here we have also combined it with our 적이 있어요 form to say that I have tried, Jolly's has to stick my pen. This is actually just a pencil, actually. It's just really dark. High contrast on this video. 마셔본 적이 있어요. I have had the experience of drinking soju, or I've tried drinking soju, or even just I've tried soju before. Any of those translations are good. All right. Let's look now at this. Okay, so this is actually a very, very common use for this grammar form. Is if you want to ask people questions like, have you ever done such and such? Have you ever eaten kimchi? Have you ever gone on an airplane? Have you ever broken a bone? All of these sorts of situations is when you use out this 적이 있다 or 없다 form. So, for example, 한국에 가본 적이 있어요? Means, have you ever been to Korea? Speak English, please. I am, sometimes. This next one, 비행기를 타본 적이 있어요? What does this mean in English? 비행기를 타본 적이 있어요? What is 적? 적 means experience. 적 means experience. So 적이 있다 means to have the experience of something. 적이 있어요 means to have the experience. Oh yeah, I'm highlighting the wrong one. But 비행기를 타본 적이 있어요? Correct, thank you. Have you ever been on an airplane? 비행기 is airplane. So this means, have you ever ridden an airplane? Have you ever been on an airplane? And this one, 이사해본 적이 있어요? 이사하다. Does anyone know what this verb is in Korean? 이사하다. It's maybe not a super common one. Why does the neon go with the yellow marker? Because this belongs to part of this grammar conjugation. We've actually combined two different grammar forms here. We have the 아오보다 grammar form, which is actually this grammar form, or poda, combined with this grammar form, this unjoki ita opta form. So when those things two combine, we get something like this. And also, thank you guys for putting in the right answer. I see you have said this down. Isahada means to move, like to move house. Isahada means to move house. So this says, have you ever moved house? So, have you ever moved house? You can write kabon joki ita or kan joki ita. Yeah, both are fine, right? We were talking before about how this grammar form is often combined with this a or poda form, but it doesn't necessarily have to. It's just very common. This pon, people asking what this pon is, it's a combination of two things. Part of it belongs to this part, and part of it belongs to this part. This by itself has no meaning as a word. It's not a word by itself. But it comes from the verb poda, which means to see, or in this case, it's used to mean to try something. So kada, we'll just do an example conjugation from the top. So kada means to go, right? Now, if you want to say that you want to try going, then you conjugate this grammar form, a or poda. So because kada ends on a vowel sound, it ends on this a here, we add a poda. So it stays the same. Ka poda means to try going. Okay. Now, if you want to say that you have the experience of trying to go somewhere, which is very long in English, but in Korean it's very natural. It just means to go somewhere. You can say ka pon joki isoyo. But this unjoki isoyo part can attach to here. You can also say, I'm running out of space a little bit, kan joki isoyo is also fine. It just means to have the experience of going. It just doesn't have this additional meaning of like trying something out, but it's very similar. There are kind of there's multiple ways in Korean of saying things, and there's just multiple options for you to choose from, depending on whatever meaning you want to imply. If you want to imply that you are trying something, use this one. If not, that's just fine. What page are we on? We are on page 149. Okay. So, 이사 해본 적이 있어요. Again, we have the unjoki 있어요 part, which is what we're learning in this lesson, which means to have the experience of something, combined with this 해보다 form, which means to try. Okay. All right. So, we've seen some introductions to all of this. Now let's try to make some practice exercises. Let's do some practice exercises. So, first up, I have tried making a snowman. Okay. Let's break it down. First off, we can start with I, right? I is very simple. We're going to start with 저는. That means I. Now let's do snowman. Does anyone remember what snowman is in Korean? The word for snowman in Korean. We had it earlier. 눈 사람. Yes, Maria, thank you. Snowman is 눈 사람. And again, it's literally snow person because 눈 is snow and 사람 is person. So snow person, snowman. Okay. Now we're going to talk about, I've tried making a snowman. So what particle do I need here? In order to know what particle it is, you need to know what verb you're using. And here we're going to be using an action verb. So what particle should I put here? As de quoi? Thank you. It should be because 눈 사람 is the object of the verb making. 저는 눈 사람을. Okay, now what is the verb to make? If I zoom out, hopefully maybe you can see the whole thing, maybe? I don't know, this thing is kind of hard to use. Anyway, I have tried 만들다. Gemma, thank you. Oh, yeah, almost, yeah. Very good. 눈 사람을 만들다 is the base form of the verb, right? Now we have to conjugate it. So first up, we're going to do our tried, because it's asking us to use the tried form. Okay, so first thing we do is we take off 다. Take away 다 always. And now this ends on a consonant sound. So we're going to be adding a, or, 보다. Okay. And then because this ends on a consonant, and because it's an sound, we're going to add or, 만들어, 보다. Okay, so we have one part down. We have the tried part down. Now we are going to, let me just let in my dog because he wants to come inside. Okay, 만들어, 보다. Okay, now we're going to add our experience of, right? I have done something. I have done something is our 은적이 part. So that is going to be 은적이 있어요. So the English is tried, like I have done something. 가본 적이 있어요. 저는 눈사람을 만들어 본 적이 있어요. I have made a snowman. I have the experience of doing this thing. I have tried making a snowman. Okay, now let's do this one. I haven't tried making music. I haven't tried making music. So first things first, we're going to do the I. That's very simple. 저는. By the way, you don't have to put 저는 in your sentences. It's very normal and natural to drop this, but we're just going to put it in just because. 저는. Now, music. What is music in Korean? Jollytastic. Shyla, thank you. 음악. Thank you. Yes. 음악. Idiot. Yes. This grammar form is already in the past tense. We have a little note about it actually on this page. No. 은적이 있다 없다 is already talking about the past. So you don't need to add the past tense marker. This grammar form is also not used in the future tense. Is there a difference in meaning between 이사 해 봤어 and 이사 한 적이 있어? Very slightly, but not hugely. I mean, 이사 해 봤어 is just that you've tried it at some point in the past. And 한 적이 있어요 is that you have the experience of doing it. So, I mean, it's like very similar, right? They're frequently interchangeable. Yeah, they're very, very similar. Okay. All right. Back to this practice problem here. I haven't tried making music. 저는 음악. So 음악 is music, right? Again, what particle should I use on 음악? Keeping in mind that we are still using the action verb making. Strawberry, yes. Good job. Yeah, beautiful. It's still Okay. And now we have this haven't tried making. 음악을. So this part's going to be the same. 만들어 본 적이. The experience of making music But this time, instead of 있어요, it's going to be 없어요. Because it says, I haven't done this. So if you're saying you haven't, then it's 없어요. Okay? 저는 음악을 만들어 본 적이 없어요. I have never tried making music. That's true for me, actually. I'm not very musically inclined. So I have never tried making music. I could say 저는 음악을 만들어 본 적이 없어요. I've never tried making music. Okay, what about this one? I have never bought expensive coffee. 음악을 만들어보다는, yeah, there are some other words. It's a good thing to know. We have this verb, this noun. Looks like it means to make music. Maybe is more common than 음악을 만들다, but yeah, 창곡 means to make music. Useful note here, keep in mind. All right, if you say 음악을 만들다, people will know what you mean, people will understand you, but there is actually a word for it in Korean as well. Okay, I have never bought expensive coffee. Okay, so we have this thing going on here now, expensive coffee. Actually, earlier in level 3, actually I think it was in level 2, we learned how to make descriptive verbs into adjectives. So we're going to use that again here. A lot of these practice exercises in these books does kind of build on things you've learned before. So this is what we're going to be working with. And I see people already getting the right answer, so thank you. Okay, so I've never bought expensive coffee. Do some nails. Yeah, I know. I really should get my nails done. Apologies. Okay, so expensive. What is the verb expensive in Korean? I did see people say it before, but just we're going to slow it down a little bit, go piece by piece. So expensive. What is the verb expensive in Korean? Gemma, yes. 비싸다. 비싸다 is expensive. Now, if you want to describe something as an adjective, to put expensive before the noun, you add a ni은 on the bottom, and this turns it into an adjective. So 비싸다 is the verb, but 비싼 is an adjective meaning expensive. Now, coffee. What is the word here? Thank you, Dalgi. Coffee is copy. Copy. Now, again, be careful with the pronunciation of this because copy is nosebleed. Of course, in context, people will know what you mean if you say copy, but it's just a little awkward, funny mistake that you might want to avoid, and make sure you say copy with the R sound, copy. 비싼 커피 means expensive coffee. Okay, so now next task is choosing the particle. What particle do we have here? Keeping in mind that the action we're doing is an action verb to buy. So, you made that copy mistake a lot in the beginning. Yeah, I did as well. Learn, yes, beautiful, thank you. Copy를. This one is ler because we end on a vowel sound. Here it was because we ended on a consonant sound. So ler is the particle, the object particle, because the expensive coffee is the object of our verb to buy. Okay, so 비싼 커피를. I've never bought. What is the verb to buy in Korean? The verb to buy in Korean. Gemma, I'm glad, thank you. If you want to say you buy something, 사다, 7, thank you. Yes, the verb to buy is 사다. Now, in this example, we don't have the tried part, right? So we're just going to drop that, and we're just going to use our 은적이 없다 part. So this is the book, Conversational Korean Grammar. So because 하다 ends on a vowel sound, we can just stick 저기 있어요 or 없어요 underneath. So the nian goes at the bottom. And now we go 저기 없어요. And we know it's 없어요 because they have never bought, something they've never done. So they don't have the experience. 산 적이 없어요. This is the book, Conversational Korean Grammar. Okay, last one, and then we're at the end of our live stream. Number 4, I have tried eating expensive cheese. I'm not sure why you would want to say this sentence, but this is just practice, right? I have tried eating expensive cheese. Okay. I feel like conversationally, 비싼 커피 한 번도 안 샀어 would be a more common way. Yeah, that's perfectly natural and fine as well. You've never, bought a coffee even once or something like that. That's fine as well. I have tried eating expensive cheese. Okay. All right. First things first. This expensive part is going to be the same, right? We have our verb 비싸다, which in adjective form becomes 비싼. Why did I remove the 폰? Oh, I just removed it because, see up here. Oh, I lost my highlighter. Here we go. Here it was asking us to use sentences using tried. I have tried, I haven't tried. So in these ones, I use the 폰 because that's to do with this trying aspect. But in here, there's no thing about tried, so I've dropped it. I've just said I've never bought expensive coffee. This is kind of arbitrary, honestly. It's just for the sake of the practice problem. And realistically, there's multiple ways to translate these things. It's just for the sake of practice. Okay, so cheese. Yes, Fuis people, yeah. 비싼 cheese. Ooh. Cheese. Yeah, no worries. Okay, and again, we're going to have the same, okay, yeah, before I jump ahead, 비싼 cheese means expensive cheese. 비싼, expensive, cheese. The particle, Gemma, yes, thank you. This book is called Conversational Korean Grammar. So this particle is again going to be the ler object particle, right? Because we're still doing an action verb, eating. And when you're performing an action on a noun, you always use the object particle. So, eating. What is the verb to eat in Korean? The verb to eat. Seven heart, yes, 먹다. 먹다 is the verb to eat, a very important word to know in Korean because eating is very important in Korean. Okay, 먹다 means to eat. So next, we have our tried part again. So we're going to be using our 폰, our 보다. We're going to be attaching this first. Sheep, yes, thank you. Okay, so first things first, we take off 다. All right, now this ends on a consonant sound. So we're going to attach 어 because this final vowel sound is an 어 sound. 먹어 보다. Okay, 먹어 보다 is to try eating. Fewless, do you have some tips for better understanding when to use 이카 and 는? Yes, we have a video actually pinned on our profile, so feel free to go check that out. We go through, I think, 6 ways that they're different in that video. Okay, 먹어 보다 is to try eating. And now we're going to attach our have tried part. Okay, 먹어 보다, take off 다, and it ends on a vowel sound, so we attach 니은 on the bottom, and then 저기. And this is I have tried, so 있어요. Okay. 비싼 치즈를 먹어본 적이 있어요. Question, how would you say try to eat it as in a command? Good question. That would be 먹어 봐. 먹어 봐 if you're speaking casually in casual language, or 먹어 봐요 in slightly more casual language, or 먹어 보세요. But this one gets tricky because this is kind of awkward in Korean, because some verbs actually have honorific forms. This is an honorific ending. This 세요 ending is an honorific ending. So in actual very formal language, it becomes 드세요. 드세요 is the way to say please eat something or try something in Korean. So depending on what sort of level you're speaking, what sort of language level you're speaking, it could be any of these things. Korean is like that. It's a little bit confusing in that way. But yeah. Question, what is jockey? Is it experience? Yes. Jockey, jock means experience. Jock means experience. 먹어라. Yeah, that's also very casual. That's just like eat it. Eat it. How to pronounce le? Kind of like le. But I am not a native speaker, so you can find videos of native speakers pronouncing it and try and follow them, try and copy them. Would be a good way to do it. Okay, but that brings us to the end of this live stream.